Hi, Warhawk Defense here today, and we're here in the office today, and we want to talk about some things that have been in the news lately. And when we've done classes, some of these things have been questions that have come up to us because of the media attention that a lot of these self-defense shooting situations have, we've seen in the media, especially the issue in Florida with Zimmerman and Martin. And so today we want to talk about justification and affirmative defense. When you're carrying concealed, and this is a class about carrying concealed, this is about what we're talking about now. This is about carrying a concealed firearm. And these are the things that hopefully, if you pay attention, will help to keep you out of trouble with law enforcement, because of the great attention that's been shown by the media. It is likely that if you have to defend yourself, there may be that same attention drawn to you, especially depending on where you live. So today we want to talk about that, and hopefully the things we talk about might help you stay out of legal trouble. So this is an important topic. Now, in the state where we teach, we are here in this state what we call a stand your ground law state. Now, not all states are that way, but if you generally follow the principles that we're going to talk about here, you're probably going to be fine, because most of these principles are pretty general and pretty generic. While your state may not be stand your ground specifically, many of the things in this presentation are going to apply to you. So, and we teach in the state of Kansas. We are headquartered just outside of Lawrence, Kansas, and so the things that we teach are more Kansas directly applicable. And we put these on the website or on the YouTube channel, because our students can go out there and get a little refresher from time to time. So anyway, today we're talking about justification and affirmative defense. Now, if you're confronted, and the assumption here is that when you are confronted, you are in a place where you have an absolute right to be. In other words, you're not breaking into somebody's house illegally, or you're not doing a crime, you're not robbing the liquor store, or something like that. You are actually in a place that you have a right to be, and that you are minding your own business, and you are not causing a problem. You have not become involved in a mutual fight. You're simply minding your own business, and for some unknown reason you have been attacked or threatened. So that's the assumption here. So what you have to determine in your mind when that threat or that attack happens is, does this person or persons, it could be more than one, could be several, do they have or are they communicating to me the threat of force? So are they physically pointing and saying, give me your money, give me your wallet, or else, or are they doing this, are they indicating they've got a weapon of some kind? Or do they actually say, hey, old man, give me your wallet, or we'll come up there and kill you, or stab you, okay, or hurt you? If they communicate a threat of some kind that causes you to believe that you are in imminent threat, that there's an imminent possibility that you could be killed, or that great bodily harm, meaning a crippling injury, could occur to you, then the threat has been made. So one thing that has to be clearly established is the threat, and you have to be able to articulate to the police officers, judge, prosecutor, whatever, this was the threat, and this is why I felt threatened, because this bad guy said You know, and maybe, and I don't know if you can see this, I don't know if it gets in, but this is Billy Bob, the bad guy. We use it in our training. If Billy Bob, the bad guy, says to you, you know, give me all your money or I'm going to kill you, then, you know, that's a threat. You can pretty much be sure that that's going to happen. Now, the second thing is the means. The people who are making the threat have to have the means to hurt you. That means they have to have a knife, they have to have a gun. So if they, you know, come at you with a knife and they're holding it out like this, or they're like this, or, you know, they're in some way showing you a weapon, or they're showing you a gun or something, then you are, they have the means. They can come and hurt you. All right, so it may be, if they're male and you're a female, they simply can hurt you without a weapon with their bare hands. So the judgment call here is, could the means of this threat, you know, could they really cause me death or great bodily harm? So if it's an enraged 6-year-old who is screaming at you that they're going to kill you, that they really have no, even if they have a knife, you know, you're probably going to be able to disarm a 6-year-old. Then the means maybe is really lacking. So it has to be, they have to have a credible means. They have to be big enough, they have to have the weapon, they have to be able to actually carry out the threat that they've made. Okay. So if it's an old guy in a wheelchair and he wheels up to you and pulls out his knife and says, you know, give me all your money or I'll, you know, or I'll kill you. Can you outwalk or outrun an old guy in a wheelchair? Probably. So if that's the case, and it may not be credible, the means may be there, but the threat is also there, but it may not be credible. So you're going to have a real hard time justifying pulling out your concealed gun and shooting that person. Now the other thing that has to be there, as we've sort of already alluded to here, is the opportunity. There has to be an opportunity for that bad person or that criminal or whoever has threatened you, produced the means to hurt you. They have to have the opportunity to do it. And the person in the wheelchair, a 90-year-old man in the wheelchair, is probably not going to have the opportunity to do it. Now, if the 90-year-old guy in a wheelchair pulls out a gun and points it at you, that's a different story. You know, he doesn't have to be able to chase you down. He can shoot you, and the bullet can go faster than you can run. So that might be the difference. So in your mind, you've got to run all of these logical steps in your mind like a program, you know, with all the logical steps, all the if then else kind of logic, you know. If this is the case, if the threat is there, the means is there, and they have the opportunity to hurt you, then it's a credible threat. And then you probably are justified in pulling out your concealed gun and responding to protect yourself or somebody else. So again, the threat, the means, and the opportunity, they all have to be credible though. If the threat and the means are there, but the opportunity's not, or the threat's there, the opportunity's there, but the means, you know, it's an enraged 6-year-old, probably doesn't have the means to actually hurt you unless they have a gun and they know how to use it or something. But, you know, these are the kind of things that you have to be able to discern, all right? And you've got to be able to explain them to somebody who may be asking you some pretty significant questions. And one of the things they're going to ask you is, did you feel like you were in danger of death or great bodily harm? So if you can truthfully say, and we're talking about if it goes to court, you know, swearing to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth and those kind of things, getting on the witness stand and say, yes, I truly felt that I was in danger of death or great bodily harm, and mean it, and be credible in your testimony, and be able to say it was, you know, Billy Bob the bad guy here, and you know, he was 6 foot tall, 240 pounds, had a Bowie knife, was very mean, was very, threatening, and then everybody's going to agree, yeah, well, okay, you're probably justified. So you've got to be able to be credible in this. So, but they're going to ask you that question: did you truly feel that you were in danger of death or great bodily harm? And if you were not, and cannot articulate the fact that you were, you might be in trouble. Okay. Now, all this is based on the fact that what would a reasonable person say? And you take anybody off the street who's a law-abiding citizen, who has a history of being a law-abiding citizen, who doesn't have any history of being crazy or anything like that, they would be a reasonable person. And what would that reasonable person think? Would they agree with you and you explained your circumstances and say, oh, I'd have done the same thing. I would have defended myself because there was no other choice. If that's the case, then you're probably fine. But if that reasonable person or several reasonable people, and if it goes to trial, it might be 12 reasonable people on your jury, if they all say, I don't know, man, I think that there's too much unknowns, and the situation wasn't really very scary to me, and I would not have done that. If that's the case, again, you might be in trouble. So you need 12 reasonable people, or at least several reasonable people who might be a prosecutor, police investigators, etc., to say, yes, under those circumstances, I'd have done the same thing. And if that's the case, they'll probably say, we're not going to press any charges. It was clearly self-defense, and that'll be the end of it. So again, what would a reasonable person say? And that's the reasonable person doctrine, I guess you could say, based on what a reasonable person would think. So, did you feel like you were in danger of death or great bodily harm? That's what you have to ask, and that's what you got to be able to explain. Now, again, we've said that when you're going to respond with some kind of force, it's got to be credible enough that a reasonable person would agree with you, would say, yes, there would have been no other choice. And here's one of the things. Yes, you've got the threat, you've got the means, you've got the opportunity, but somebody might also ask you, did you have any other options? Now, in our state, we have stand your ground, which means that if you have the threat, the means, the opportunity, you're in a place that you're lawfully able to be, that you should be okay, you have expectations of being left alone and not attacked, then you can stand your ground and fight back. But somebody is going to have in their mind, well, did you have the option to run away? Could you have just hopped in your car and driven off? Or could you have just run away, run into a building? Could you have gotten away without having to fight? In other words, could discretion be the better part of valor, and you simply disengage, break off the fight, and the fight never actually happens. You simply are able to run away, drive off, whatever, without having to fight back or to fire your handgun. So somebody might ask that, and you need to be able to articulate, verbally why that wasn't an option, because somebody's probably going to ask. Now, if you are old and slow, you're crippled, you've got your 5-year-old grandson and your 1-year-old twin granddaughters with you in a stroller, well, you're probably not going to be able to run away. All right, and that's pretty obvious, and you can explain that. There wasn't any other option because I had the grandkids with me, and we just couldn't run. We couldn't get away. Or, I got a broken leg. I just couldn't hobble away that fast. Or I had my elderly grandmother with me or something. If you could articulate why you couldn't do it, or maybe you were cornered. You were in an alley, you were cornered, there was just simply no place to go. Back was against the wall. You should be able to be ready to articulate that. Now in Kansas, obviously, with stand your ground, that's an arguable thing about could I have run away, should I have run away, why didn't I run away. Other states who don't have stand your ground, this may be a bigger deal. But anywhere you are, you should be able to articulate this, because everyone's going to ask that question, or at least they're going to think it. They're going to think it. So then, of course, I believe that, of course, if you can get away, do it. If you can get clean away, just get clean away. The fight that never happens is the best outcome. If you can avoid the fight, that's the best outcome for everybody. Okay.